Welcome to the Real Film Nerds Podcast.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Real Film Nerds. And this episode's 128, in which we are going to talk about scary stories to tell in the dark. Matt is my co-host, and I am Mike Mysterious Talent.
It's now Mike Mysterious Talent instead of Mysterious Mike Talent? Great. Now I'm going to have to change the URL and the Facebook and the Instagram and the tweet stick and the snap dick and Jesus, Mike.
I know, man. You know how it is. I roll with whatever. So, it's Mysterious Mike Talent all the time, except for when I did that intro.
What about the talented Mysterious Mike?
Oh, that sounds good, but that kind of reminds me of this movie called The Talented Mr. Ripley, and that was kind of weird. So I don't know if I want to use that.
Yes, sir. Okay, Mike. Well, so what are we doing today, Mike?
We're going to review scary stories to tell in the dark, man. And, off the bat, what'd you think about this movie?
Do you want me to give you the rundown first?
Yeah, why don't you give us the rundown?
Okay. I'm just throwing it out there. Alrighty, kids, for those of you who haven't turned off already. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was directed by Andre Overdahl, written by Dan Hagman, Kevin Hagman, screenplay Guillermo del Toro, story by Marcus Dunstan, Patrick Melton, and the original novel by Alvin Schwartz. It stars Zoe Margaret Coletti, Michael Garza, Gabriel Rush, Dean Norris, Gil Bellows, and Lorraine Toussaint, I think. That sounds good to me.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Well, that's a very short description, that one. Let me see if there's a little bit longer one. Okay, that's a heck of a lot longer one, but I'll go with that one. All right. It's 1968 in America. Change is blowing in the wind. But seemingly far removed from the unrest in the cities is the small town of Mill Valley, where for generations the shadow of the Bellows family has loomed large. It is in their mansion on the edge of town that Sarah, a young girl with horrible secrets, turned her tortured life into a series of scary stories written in a book that has transcended time, stories that have a way of becoming all too real for a group of teenagers who discovered Sarah's terrifying tome. Dude, that was a really long run-on sentence for that guy. And that was written by Anonymous. All right,
yeah,
Mike.
that was long.
Dude, it was. I probably should have gone with the short one, but the short one was like super short. Here's the short one. A group of teens face their fears in order to save their lives.
All right, I like the second one better because there's a little bit more to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like stupidly short. And that's the one that was probably sent out by the studio or the production company or whatever. Ugh. Mike, I'll be honest. We talked about it last week. I really was looking forward to this movie. I thought it was really cool that they were finally doing some horror movies that helped shape my young mind. I loved the artwork. I loved the stories. I remember reading them. I don't remember them well now because it's been, probably 25 years at least. But these helped me grow into the giant nerd that I am now, where I love sci-fi. I love horror to a level, not the level you do, but I don't hate it. It helped me expand my mind that there's a lot more out there going on. And just right off the top, I was disappointed in this film. I really was expecting more.
Yeah, me too, man. I was expecting a lot more. I will say that the graphics and the special effects in this movie were great, but the story was meh.
Agree. And it's not so much the individual smaller stories. Those are the ones, man, I'm having a hard time talking today. Ugh. Those were the ones that were better because those are the ones that are direct from the book. The main story that ties them all together was Sarah Bellows. I wasn't a huge fan of that story. It was extremely predictable. It's been done before. The twist on them being a paper mill, I mean, it makes sense for the town being named Mill Valley and all that. The big twist we find later on in the spoiler section, you know, I saw that coming a mile down the road, but it just, the main story wasn't great. The individual stories is what was really good. And I know this is going to be bad. Maybe not bad, but just my observation. I think if this was rated R, it probably would have been a better movie.
It might have been. It might have been a little bit better if it was rated R. But honestly, you know, as we've talked about many times, Matt, it's the story that keeps us coming back and makes us watch these movies. And this story wasn't the best. Like, yes, I mean, I'm with Matt. I grew up reading these books, and I was excited to see some of this stuff come onto the big screen. And although they did some of it quite faithfully, and some of the artwork seemed really cool, the story was just not quite there. Like, in overall, as far as the scary factor, this movie's not that scary. I did enjoy that they didn't really try to do a lot of the jump scares. So there's like one particular scene where I remember there was like a jump scare, but that's fine. Just one in a horror movie these days is great, because I feel like a lot of movies just go to the jump scares and these various different creepy situations and just try and use that instead of actually having like a good story that's suspenseful and the characters are actually scary. So
yeah, dude, that was very nice that there was not many jump scares at all, because I feel that the jump scare is just a giant cop-out, honestly. I think it's just, oh, look, we're going to make you jump by turning up the volume really loud and making something flash onto screen. It's a cop-out to scare people. Sure, sometimes that's, especially the cheesy horror movies, that's what it is. But I applaud them for not doing that on this. And yeah, I agree. The CGI was incredible. The faithfulness of the individual stories to the actual artwork was awesome. I really liked that. The acting wasn't horrible. It wasn't anything to write home about. There's a lot of potential, especially in these young actors. Hopefully going forward, we will see. You definitely can see Guillermo del Toro's touch on this film, specifically in the monsters for sure. I loved how they seamlessly blended the CGI and the practical effects. The last monster you see is clearly 100% CGI, but it's not really bad and it's not over the top. It actually looks pretty gosh darn good, if you ask me. And it's super creepy. And that was probably one of my favorite stories of all of them.
Yeah, no, the movie, as far as like special effects, man, they killed it. I just wish the story was a little bit better. Like, there was really good special effects. I didn't feel like they overused them. I feel like they were just trying to use them for the stories. And the individual stories, like you've said, Matt, were great. It was just some of the whole overarching kind of why these stories kind of existed and what was going on was a little bit weak. More than a little bit. Very weak.
I agree. And what's interesting is I started to like I enjoyed the start of them introducing the story, specifically at Sarah Bellows' home, where it's like the haunted house kind of thing. And then I was like, oh, this is actually kind of interesting. This is pretty good. I want to see where this goes. And then it just starts falling apart from there. It really does. It's just, nope, goes out the door. Pretty much from the time period when they leave the haunted house.
Yeah. For me, so I was hoping this would be more like some of the newer horror movies that I've really enjoyed. And I'm just going to tell you about a couple of them real quick.
Dude, go fire away, man. Fire away. We know you're the Real Film Nerds horror aficionado. And so go for it, man. Let's hear about them.
All right. So the first one I was just going to throw a shout out to was Don't Breathe, because that was just a really well done, good horror movie. About kind of a situation where some people get into a house and it's super scary and the person can't see them and that's why they can't breathe because he can hear them. It was awesome.
Oh, that's a really interesting concept. Man, I see why you think I might have seen that, because that is definitely something right up my alley.
Yeah, there was another movie. It Follows, and it's kind of a new take on the somewhat like cliche thing to do in horror movies, where if you have like premarital sex, you will be killed. And it is creepy as can be. I without telling you too much about it, it is awesome. And it's just a low budget, but just super cool, kind of like creepy thing that follows people around. That's why they call it It Follows. But that movie, of course, me and Matt have gushed over this many times, but Hereditary, which I really, really enjoyed. And then the final one I'm going to talk about is... this is a bit of an older one, but it's still new-ish, I guess, in the horror genre, as far as in my mind. And this is all just me. That's The Ring, 2002, the American version, directed by Gore Verbinski. That was a really good horror movie as well, because it's super creepy, and the build-up is just there. And so, like, when the final scene happens, you're just like... you're into it. It's got you. It grabbed you. And I feel like this movie just didn't have that. It didn't hook you. There was no hook.
But dude, not Hereditary. The Ring was a phenomenon, man. I mean, everybody was talking about that movie. Everybody. People who would never see a horror movie in their lives was talking about it. I mean, that was a huge film when it came out because it was so groundbreaking.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. But it was based on a Japanese movie called, I think, Ring You. And I didn't want to confuse any of the audience because we are the film nerds. So this was The Ring. This was directed by Gore Verbinski in 2002. Not to be confused with the other one.
Did you ever watch the Japanese version?
I did. I think I like the American version better. But, you know, it might be one of those things that I saw this one first. And so this one kind of sticks with me better. Like, I'll give you an example. Another example is I love the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. And I watched the Swedish versions of the films first. And so now I don't like the American ones as much.
I thought you liked the original, the first film, and the other two were not quite as good of the American versions.
Well, the American version, there's only the one movie, and then there is a new one that came out, but it wasn't.
I thought that was the third one. I'm confused. Sorry, my bad.
Well, no, it's complicated. But anyway, you're right. I love those movies, but I think I like the Swedish ones better, even though I had to read the whole movie. I loved it.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, and we'll be getting into that, hopefully, on our next podcast, unless we only get one recorded this week, which, in case, we will put Revenger on the back burner again. But for those of you who are curious and want to hear Mike and I talk about Hereditary, we reviewed Hereditary last year, June 21st, 2018, Real Film Nerds episode number 23.
Awesome, Matt. Yeah, thanks for doing that.
Yeah, to the internets. I forgot to say it before I did it, but yes, I went to the internets. It's real hard not doing it with a keyboard, though. I gotta start, getting a keyboard, like maybe take my loud clicky one that I love and like push it off to the side and get the quiet one just when we're recording so I can type. But, you know, I also don't care that much because we're 128 episodes in and I'm still using the same keyboard. So, all right, Mike. Well, are we good? Oh, you know what? Here, let's do this before I ask the most important question of the entire podcast.
That's true.
Mike, do you recommend people to go see Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark in the theaters?
Oh, you know, I was actually contemplating what I would say for this, and my answer is kind of vague. So if you like horror movies, this movie has some aspects that are kind of cool to see in the big theater and, you know, the quiet and all that stuff. But the story's not really that great, so I have a hard time. I'm going to recommend you watch this at home, honestly. Save your money. I wanted to like this movie more than I did, but it just didn't turn out that way. So I would say stay home.
I agree with you, Mike, in one standpoint, though.
All right.
This is a film intended more towards the younger viewer. It's a PG-13. It is not an R. So if you are a seasoned horror veteran, like Mike and I, well, like Mike, I'm not seasoned. I would say I'm a veteran just because I'm old. But I've seen, you know, quite a few horror movies as well. I would say if you're expecting to go and enjoy yourself and pay the money, I'd say now wait till it comes out on Netflix or Blu-ray or whatever. Just watch it at home. But here's my big but. Giant but. If you are a parent and you have kids that are older than 13, 14, 15, you know, young adults, high school, young teenager age, and they have not been introduced to the horror world yet, I think this would be a pretty good movie to bring them to in a theater. Because, yeah, it's scary, and it's based on a novel, and it's based on kids' stories and things like that, but it's not blood, guts, and gore, over the top kind of, you know. So I think this would be a good one as an introduction to horror as a genre.
You know, Matt, that's 100% true. I agree with you on that. I didn't even think about it from that angle. So that's very cool.
See, and I'm not even a breeder.
People that are listening, breeder means person who has kids. Matt is has all these weird slang. I don't know.
Are they Matt-isms?
They yeah, I think they are Matt-isms.
Oh, all right, Mike. Let's do it. Let's ask the most important question of the podcast. So, Mr. Talent, how does 2019's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark relate to the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Well, Matt, thanks for asking. And this MCU was a little bit harder to find, but I did find that Kevin Carter worked on the makeup department in Captain Marvel and also worked on the makeup department for this movie.
I'll allow it. Everybody needs good makeup.
Yes. I looked at all the usual suspects as far as actors and directors and producers, but there was a lot of movies that are kind of going to be Marvel movies, but weren't at the time. If that makes sense.
And there's a lot of newbie actors and directors and screenwriters and things as well.
Yeah, there was like X-Men things and stuff like that, but I didn't choose any of that stuff because it's very questionable. So anyway, to stick with the normal MCU.
Well, good job, Mike. Your streak continues.
Yes, thank you.
I have a feeling, though, and we probably should just say it now. If we do get to Revenger, I really don't think you're going to find an MCU tie-in for that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that as well. We might just have to open up with, be like, hey, this movie is from Korea. We're not going to have anything tied together, but I'm going to look. So
better get on it. But yes, for those of you who do not know, Revenger is a Netflix original, kind of. Netflix has the rights to it. I think they put money into it to get it produced, but it is a foreign film. It is South Korean. We'll just go with Korean, but I'm pretty sure it's South Korean.
No, South Korean, dude. We don't talk to North Korea.
I don't think they would. Even Netflix probably wouldn't bring a North Korean film onto it. But and we hopefully we'll get to that this week. If not, we'll get to it eventually. It's what we used to call in the newspaper world evergreen. Means that it'll never go out of style, kind of thing, because it's always going to be on Netflix. So we can hop on it next week, the week after, whenever. We'll just see how it goes. So, all right, Mike, let's jump into our spoiler discussion of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And you're going first.
Okay. For my spoiler part of this movie, I was just disappointed with the way some of the things went down with the story, and I don't know, the character development was very, very lax. Like the main character, Stella, her dad is like this key character, and he's, barely even. He barely says anything in the movie, and I get you're supposed to see that there's this heartbreak and this thing happened, but it was very odd. And then there was this weird exposition scene where Stella is with some of her friends, and she goes out in the drive-in theater to have a moment by herself, and her friends tell you everything about her, so then you know more about what's going on. I don't know. It was just weird to me.
I agree. That is, I don't want to get too off topic, but that is one thing that I did like seeing was the drive-in theater. I mean, man, dude, can you imagine going to the drive-in theater in the 60s and seeing cars like that? God, that must have been really neat. Of course, back then it was like us today rolling up and seeing a bunch of Camrys or something. But man,
yeah, no. I mean, that was kind of a cool scene, but it was just a weird scene.
Yeah, her friends literally are doing narration on why she's upset and why she's crying to this random guy that they jumped in his car. I thought it was going to be, especially how he looked at Stella right when they jumped in the car. I thought he was going to be maybe he was a senior in their high school 2 or 3 years ago or something, and he knew her, but he still was but no, completely random dude that they just jumped in his car.
Yeah, and I guess since it's the spoiler part, we can say that he's like a draft dodger, and you're like, what in the hell? Because there's this weird scenes with the police, and you're like, what is going on? It seemed odd, but now it makes sense because you find out later about that. But, yeah, man, I don't know. It was weird to me.
It comes off like they have to keep reminding you that this time period is in the 60s. Okay, he's a draft dodger. Wonderful. You said it once. Leave it alone. Then they bring in racism. Big time. Big time bring in racism. Oh, well, it's the 60s. Remember? This movie takes place in the 60s. It's really? I mean, we got it. We got it from the start with all the cars, with how everybody's talking. Nobody has smartphones. We understand what time period it is. You don't have to keep cramming it down our throats.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That was some weird stuff about the movie. I liked the little short stories. I liked them a lot. The special effects were amazing. It was just the overall overarching story that was just it was hard to, I don't know. I just didn't feel super invested. I don't know why.
Yeah, that makes two of us, man. Makes two of us. All right, well, since you like the stories that were taken from the novel, I'm going to go with that as well. But here, I'm going to ask you a question, Mike. Which one did you enjoy the most out of the four?
I think I like the toe one.
Yeah, the toe one.
Yeah, the missing toe one with the I guess what do we say, zombie or corpse?
Corpse.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they refer to her as a corpse in the story and in the movie, but it's what we would refer to today as a zombie. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like that one the best. The scarecrow thing was kind of cool, but I kind of wanted more out of it, and I felt like it was a short-lived. I feel like they were saving some of their CG effects for the final one, which was the I can't remember what was the story. It had a weird name.
I don't remember the name, but Ramon Morales, played by Michael Garza, says it's a campfire story, and I don't remember exactly how they refer to it as referred to the creature. But that one was really cool. That was probably my favorite one is the last one, even though it's not really a story. It was just more of a monster coming out after him. I really enjoyed the scarecrow. I thought that was great. But just like you, Mike, I think they could have done a heck of a lot more with it. And I mean, they didn't. So they explain like the kid's grown up at this farm forever, and he's scared to death of the scarecrow. But then how come he's taking time out of his precious day to sit there and hit it with a bat? Like, that's how the movie starts. It's like, okay, you're beating up a scarecrow. Good for you. I don't know. I mean, that's not so much a fear. I mean, you can have this fear built in without showing us a whole 5-minute scene of him beating it up with a bat with his two buddies, you know?
Yeah, true.
This one's in the trailer, but the red bump, almost all the stories are in the trailer actually, but the zit from hell that turns into a bunch of spiders, that one definitely is like one of the creepiest ones for sure.
Yeah, no, that one was creepy. I mean, also the one where the guy gets chased down by the I don't even know what to call it, but large person.
Yeah, like the creepy looking woman thing.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a really cool scene, like how they did it. All the stuff was really cool, like the build up and everything. But I don't know. Like I did like the story parts. Like it just seemed like the overarching story didn't go well.
It left a lot more to be desired. Really did.
And then the ending was like, what?
Oh, dude, that's right where I was going to go.
What? Like, what do you... I was appalled, actually, at the ending, because, I was figuring, all right, you did what you were aiming to do, which was defeat the thing, and then they're just going to try and combat stuff, and there's... I don't know, man, it was weird.
Yeah, it didn't end well at all. It... left us with, sequel, itis, because they definitely are going to want to attempt to do a sequel. I'm not sure how well it's doing at the box office. I don't think it's gonna have a sequel. I don't think it should have a sequel. If they bump up the main story, I'd be open to seeing a sequel, but especially if they implement more of the short stories. But it just, they're like, oh, well, we're going to leave it on a giant cliffhanger. Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, it was just... All
right, Mike. Well, let's do it. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. How many reels do you give Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark?
All right, man. I'm going to give this one 2 reels out of 5.
Damn it, Mike. Damn it. We're paying attention way too much to each other lately because I also give it 2 out of 5 reels.
Well, you know what? I mean, we've said it since the beginning. we've read these kind of some of the source material for this, and we were hoping that this was going to be better. And it just wasn't that great.
Well, especially with a name like Guillermo del Toro frickin' attached to it.
Yeah. I mean, he clearly had an effect on the creatures because they were awesome. Like, that stuff was awesome. But, like, I don't know.
Well, there's, 4 screenwriters on this? 4 or 5? Hold on, let me pull exactly up how many. There's 3 screenwriters on this. So I'm wondering if they're like, all right, Guillermo, you do the short stories and we'll do the main story. They look, I'm not sure if they're brothers, but Dan Hagman and Kevin Hagman.
I mean, I don't know either. I mean, if I had to venture a guess, I would say yes, but doesn't mean
That's what I got my money on. Oh yeah, they have to be brothers. They've written a lot of stuff together. Troll Hunters, Lego Movie, Ninjago. I think they might have written the regular. Yeah, they wrote the regular Lego Movie, Hotel Transylvania, Troll Hunters. Ugh. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't want to throw blame on them, but I don't know. Overall, I mean, we've said it like 5 times. We'll say it again. The overarching story was just not worth the time, but the mini stories are. So maybe cut that shit completely out and just give us a bunch of the mini stories put together. Like, I'm trying to think. There's horror movies that have done that before. I can't remember one off the top of my head where it's like 3 or 4 short kind of like movies put together in one. Like Tales from the Crypt, kind of.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tales from the Crypt was definitely kind of like that, where it was like 8, 10, maybe 12-minute like things where it would do a horror sequence and then it would be done.
Or even like Twilight Zone, But those are TV shows. But I think it would have been more successful doing that than having this overarching story. I mean, it's cool they tied it all together. I like that, but I don't like how they did it. It was just too boring. Well, all right, Mike. I don't know what else to add. Maybe we'll talk about what we're going to review next week.
Yeah, I don't know what else to add either. We are looking to do the Revenge. What is it?
Revenger.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what else is coming out.
Well, I know what I want to watch next week, Mike, in the theaters.
What do you want to watch next week in the theaters?
The Angry Birds movie 2.
What? You don't want to watch Blinded by the Light?
No, actually, I was thinking Good Boys.
That doesn't come out to the... Oh, yeah. Good Boys, or there's 47 meters down, uncaged.
Dude, that looks really bad. Like, the trailer looks really bad.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's done by that... it's done by the same production company that did The Meg. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. Entertainment Studios. Like, the most generic name ever for a production company.
All right. Well...
I know. You want to go see it just so we can tear it apart, right?
No, I don't want to see it because I don't even want to have to tear it apart because I don't think anybody will ever watch it. But unfortunately, that is not the case. And maybe we should watch it just so I could tell people, don't watch it.
Well, okay. So, all right. We'll figure it out. But, I mean, there's also Where Do You Go, Bernadette? That's supposed to be a good one. I don't know how much interest I have in it. It has...
Oh, man, I don't know, man. It looks like a weird movie. Like, yeah, it's got some great actors in it. But I'm like, what is the story?
Great actors, great director. I believe it's based on a novel. I don't know. Blinded by the Light looks pretty cool. Yeah, honestly, it does. It's another music-based film. But I don't think the music is as heavy like a biopic. It's inspiration for this character's life. So that might be interesting. I do want to see Good Boys, but I think it's probably being torn apart. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about it. We'll figure it out. We'll pick one of those 3, or we'll just go the other way and we will go see 47 meters down just so we can just destroy it?
Well, I don't know if I want to force you to watch that movie, Matt, but I guess with that, Matt, you want to close this out?
You want me to close this out? All right.
Yeah,
I got it.
Yeah, you do it.
Woo! All right, let's see what I'm going to say. I'm trying to think what I'm going to say. All right, here we go. All right, make sure to like, subscribe, share, tell your friends about the podcast. That's how we grow, especially the old iTunes. Leave us a review, rate us, tell us how bad or good we're doing. Word of mouth is what's helping us because I don't want to pay for advertising, and neither does Mike. So if you think we're doing a good job or if you think we're not, go ahead, tell people to listen to us anyways. Follow us on all the social medias. I post every now and then. Mike never posts. At Real Film Nerds, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We got the Facebook fan group. Sometimes there's some good discussion in there. Sometimes there's not. Other than that, I think we are good. Thanks everybody for listening. Go out and catch a movie.
Thank you for listening to The Real Film Nerds. Now don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Real Film Nerds. Now go out and catch a movie.